Hello guys, my name is Sarah and I am a cosplayer. Today I want to share with you a story how I made magical Mythril Rod for my Garnet Alexandros cosplay from my beloved video game Final Fantasy IX. The technique that I used for it called Paper-mache, and those who know me a little longer knows that I am a paper-mache fanatic. And I can try to make everything out of it. But especially for this type of craft, I am sure that paper-mache is most comfortable to use. It is easy and less money consuming, and it needs less instruments and specific place for doing that. I am sure that everyone can try it by themselves. Even if you had never ever crafted anything before, it is a perfect way to start your cosplay journey if you're a beginner. So let's get started! First of all, I wanted to introduce to you my little rod collection. In Final Fantasy IX, you can equip many weapons on your character during the game. As the game progresses, you get stronger weapons and learn new abilities with them. And since I'm a Final Fantasy IX fanatic, and Garnet fanatic too, I'm going to create all weapons of this character. Yeah, that's going to be intense. I wonder how I would storage all of this. Never mind. Right now, I have only 3 rods in my collection: Standard First Rod, Healing Rod, and Mythril Rod. All of my favorite, to be honest. I made all of them with the same technique, just improved it during the craft a little bit, and I'm going to tell you about all the tricks and tips how I work it with paper-mache. This is all calculations that I made to construct all these triangles. I tried to calculate proportions with the equation of proportions. But to not bother you with all those pretty boring stuff, I'll just show you my ready pattern pieces for each parts of rod. Round part, base for round part, middle square part, and low part, up and bottom. You can just take screenshots and redraft them. You are welcome. Paper-mache is a technique where you need a base, which you will cover with multiple layers of thin paper and glue. And this technique is so handy because you can use whatever you want as a base. Just a simple cardboard, for example. For my rods, I just took simple cardboard boxes from ordinary groceries. Eight out of B pattern and 4 out of each C and D. It's really very easy to get confused, so immediately sign all the pieces and which side they should be glued to. To glue everything as seamless as it possible, I use kinda corners out of thin cardboard. I'm gluing it from the inside of each piece and then putting it all together on them. I'm using pretty strong super glue for it. Even though it's just a cardboard, it should be more stronger, and this glue is drying faster and it's easy to work with. After gluing multiple triangles, I got my own Giza Valley. Welcome to the Egypt land! But before I glued the complete base together, I needed to make holes for my base stick, which is polymer pipe, and for round part in the middle, which is toilet paper roll. I did it carefully with a simple stationary knife. Then gluing pyramids together is coming. It's pretty tricky to press it to each other and not crush it, but those holes is actually helping there. So slowly and carefully, we are getting closer to the goal. Round part of the rod I cut out of my sports mat that was torn. Well, right in time. It is in EVA foam, very common material for craft, and it's not in vain. It's light, cheap, gets very soft by heat and easy to work with. I use it as a base for my paper-mache pretty often. I'm cutting my petals out of it, cutting out angles with scissors for rounder shape, and then gluing together with super glue. Don't forget to wait before gluing petals together so the glue has time to dry a little. It sticks better this way. I'm gluing petals by two and then I'm ironing every pair a little through the cotton fabric so it can be a little smoother. Then I am gluing everything and ironing the wall pumpkin in the end. Carefully, don't smash it. For gluing everything to a stick, I'm using these little tacks out of thin cardboard. I'm gluing it on the inside of my pyramids and then to a stick. I will cover it with multiple layers of paper-mache later so it will be very strong. Round part of the rod I glued with bunch of hot glue and then very quickly started to put first layers of paper on it. For paper-mache you just need multiple pieces of paper which should be torn, not cut with knife or scissors. You should carefully place it to each other with PVA glue and it goes layer by layer. Before putting next layer, you should wait before previous one will dry, and after 2 layers in a row, you should sand everything with sandpaper for extra smoothness. For my first and second rods, I used 5 layers of paper-mache, so it was like 2 layers sanding, 2 layers sanding, 1 layer final sanding. And at the end, I just covered everything with kinda 8 layers of just PVA glue. But it dries pretty fast, so it don't take too long. But it helps to glue everything together for extra smoothness. That's how I got the harder and the smoothest result. But this time, for this rod, I was pretty late to photo shoot, so I had very little time and I procrastinated a lot. So I did just 2 layers of paper-mache in the end. And it still worked. The paint didn't peel off, it was a good experiment and I'm glad that I will show you that. After 2 layers of paper and glue, you should sand your craft, so the surface would be extra smooth. I sanded with 2 types of sandpaper, with bigger abrasive and little one for polishing. Don't forget about protection. I actually hate sanding very much, because it's messy, noisy and it hurts your hands. But to be honest, dust from paper-mache not as toxic as out of PVC or EVA or other plastics. So that is why I like to work with paper-mache more. Since I have no extra place for crafting and I'm doing everything in my bedroom, I can just do wet cleaning and ventilate the room easily after all this. Cause dust from paper-mache not as toxic. Mythril Rod has an interesting complicated design with multiple rings and hoops and round parts on it, and I didn't want it to simply paint it, so it would look flat. I did all extra pieces with 2mm EVA foam. I did some kind of patterns with masking tape and then cut everything out of foam and simply glued everything to the base rod. And now, if it were a complete professional crafting tutorial, I would cover everything with 8 coats of PVA glue and then with a layer, or maybe 2, of acrylic sealant or acrylic glue for the surface leveling. But I had no time for it. So I just simply covered everything with 2 layers of acrylic primer. Yeah, right on foam, it works perfect with this. Putting it with simple sponge for washing dishes. I adore this primer. It's thick and flexible so it won't crack and it can level the surface a little by itself. And it's completely white. Perfect base for painting. The main reason why I skipped all those previous steps of crafting is that because I know the main rule which always works. The main step in every crafting is painting. No matter how and from what you are doing anything, it only matters how it looks at the end. Especially if it's not for a professional cosplay competition, but just for a shooting or convent guesting. If you paint everything properly, your craft will work even if it's made simply out of paper, even without PVA glue. Right now I'm showing you how I put in base layers on the road. I took greenish, bluish, turquoise color and just deep blue paint. And at first step I simply creating a base for next paint work. And as you can see, it looks pretty flat if we leave it as it is. So for proper painting, we should work with color gradients, highlights and weathering, design details and stuff. And after this, I just stopped filming anything. As I said before, I crunched this rod pretty much and I did all the painting job like 4 hours before photo shoot. So I did everything pretty roughly, even though painting is like the most important step in the craft. But I will try to explain you everything right now, right on this final result. When I finished my basic layer, I just started gradient job. I took lighter turquoise color that I used at this round part and just stamped it with my sponge right in the middle of this part, so it would create this lighter effect, like this part is more lighter than the edges. This makes your craft and everything that you're making and painting really very deep and voluminous. It creates volume, like when we are doing our makeup and putting on our highlighter and contouring. So I did a contouring for my road. Everything the same. And I did this actually on all those turquoise parts, on those triangles. Then I did those patterns pretty roughly. I didn't draft anything. I just took white brush and painted it circles too. Yes, this borders part, and there I put a little bit lighter turquoise color. I had those EVA part right there on a handle, and I just painted them with light turquoise. And then on all the light turquoise parts, on all patterns, I put silver metallic paint to make it more shiny, like it made out of actual mithril metal. And then at the edges of the EVA parts and at the edges there, I just put deep blue paint for weathering. And as I said before, I had really very little time, so I couldn't do proper fading this weathering into the turquoise, so I just put blue stripes over there. But it actually worked. Maybe if we will look closely, you will see that it made pretty roughly, yes, not professional and stuff. But if you will look at this far away or on your photos, those imperfections will be not so visible. But at the same time, it will give you proper, deep, voluminous, a pretty look. So don't be way too perfectionistic. Yes, of course, it is a good thing to be a professional and doing everything as good as it possible, especially if you're working for a customer service or for cosplay competitions. But if it's just for a photo shoot, just for your renting on convention as a guest, you just can use those simple things to make your stuff not perfect but still good. And on these deep blue parts, I just took my brush and use a technique called dry brush. You're just dipping your dry brush into paint and then taking it and pretty roughly with quick moves just fading it right in the middle, and it's create this weathered look too. And I put it just in the middle of all deep blue parts, here, there and there in the middle, and in this part too, and it created really very good metallic and at the same time blue look. And this is how I painted this entire thing in 4 hours. I made this stuff for my Garnet and Alexandros cosplay autumn photoshoot in beautiful forest location. I think that bright blue rod looks very pretty with green and yellow leaves and orange jumpsuit. You can see my photos on my Instagram and on Instagram of my photographer FFIX and on my Facebook page in complete photo album. And overall, what I can say about this craft technique, as I can call it, now when I'm comparing like those two rods together, this one made absolutely properly as it should be. This one pretty lame, as we can say. And what can I say? That this one rod feels really pretty light and pretty thin, but this one seems to be heavier and like thicker and stronger. So if we will choose something what I would use for a conventions and for some kind of roughly trips to the photo shoot, of course I may use this one than this one. But for a couple times I think this rod can be used too, and I really just glad that I made it, and I made it for a photo shoot in time, and I haven't used like the same rod stick for the like third photo shoot in a row. So this was really very interesting experiment. I'm really very glad that I did it, and I seen how those two things are different, and I'm really very glad that you guys watched this journey with me, and I'm really very glad that I can share these knowledges with you guys. So please don't forget to leave a like under this video and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell button. Please do so, because if you will put your comments and your view and just your like under this video right after it came out, it will be promoted more in the YouTube recommendation. This is how YouTube recommendations works. So when we are telling you about bells and stuff, it's for a reason. Thank you so much that you spent this time with me, and we will see you in my next videos. I still want to make like the whole road collection for my Garnet cosplay. Stay tuned. Bye.